Kindred is written and published by A Fluid Melody, an archive of our own. Reading and commenting on the original supports and encourages the author. Chapter 6. Bestowal. In which Joyce is too bloody kind. I can't tell if that pomegranate honey stuff is alcoholic or not. The Voltaris have no alcohol tolerance, and a good deal of song lore is dropped. Chapter note. Voltaris. Stars above and nether below. Dominus is the greatest master Ardonia has ever witnessed. Dominus and his council doing their best to deal with the socio-political consequences of her generosity, dying from pure, unadulterated stress. Conventional thought had it that the only way to create new songs was by using one of each to enact a symphony, all wielders banding together to perform a harmony choir to painstakingly sync their respective tune until they melded into one, randomly manifesting several songs of whatever order was used to form them. It was a draining process that only song masters could participate in, needing a week's worth of rest and refrain from song usage. The days where the world would naturally form songs were long gone, relegated to myth, or so he thought. In hindsight, Dominus should have recalled what his aunt thought of the conventional. Damn the stars, she did it again. The origins were nothing like Ardonia had recorded, or any realm for that matter. There were some similarities the two shared, but the differences were so large it wasn't even funny. This includes the gap between them. Legacies, greater than the average song, but weaker than primes, born from the life of an exceptional song wielder, who personally molded them from naught but their soul. Each was ultimately unique and far more difficult to master in exchange for a potent power that served as a memoir of the maker, letting the wielder investigate the past, much like Aljana did. Formally, the clan had only one known legacy, found within the sprawling cave of Sanctuary. Deep in the darkness, Dominus had found a song blazing like the setting sun, a swirl of pitch nothing and dazzling flame with prismatic cores. Echoing throughout the cave, a sonorous male tone sang in an unfamiliar dialect, one Dominus couldn't comprehend, but found soothing all the same. This was Sonata, legacy of the first Voltaris, father of his clan. The last gift he ever gave his blood was the very thing that Dominus sought. Nocturne and the other origins were too powerful, and much like their Ardonian counterparts, would kill if integrated directly, requiring an ancestor's legacy to accept them and a herald to guide them. Every step he took since agreeing to the trial was to prepare him for both. It did nothing to abate the unimaginable pain of touching it, his senses abandoning him one by one as light flooded the room. For the briefest of moments, he was Valor Voltaris in full, the ancestor's power and psyche overwhelming him as his trial began in truth, blacking out. It would be hours before he stumbled out, sweat coating his whole body as Aljana provided a crutch. Afterwards, his kinsmen saw him and took him home, speaking in hushed tones of eyes leaking embers, his shadow birthing cheeping birds and beautiful butterflies, soaring around the Voltaris before harmlessly shattering like stained glass and ink. To this day, Dominus spoke little of what transpired, but the way he gained Nocturne was another mark against the clans. Power should be earned from more than combat alone. I mean, duh. Damn it all. And now Dominus had 6 dropped into his lap. Inside his home, they sat like unwanted guests, chest and velvet muffling their tunes as he awaited his counsel to arrive. Had anyone asked, Dominus would claim he wanted to conceal them as a precaution. In truth, to look at any of them brought reflections, hinting at their makers and their power. Kekoa came from a time when all were initiated by the ancestors. What does that say of a song born from that era, when myths ruled the heavens and horrors roamed the earth? Cassian uncorked a flask, chugging the pomegranate honey blend. The fruit was an exotic, harvested from one of Sanctuary's groves, having a tart taste the head guard appreciated as he took a long draught. All of them? All of them. Dominus had never glared at a chest so much. Ingressus had left after fetching the others, sharing a quiet hug before heading out. His son had stayed close with the Voltaris from their camp, but made friends with an Irides and the Storis, the former infinitely more comforting than the latter. There is one of each origin, though I know little else. Only my certainty that they are from the same era as Master Kekoa. Uneasy stares flicked across the room before turning back to the displayed songs on the table. Dominus had taken care when holding this meeting, moving the chest to his bedroom. It was in the deepest part of the cave, and once everyone came in, he had set an illusion so none could hear. In a way, we were expecting this, Nicodemus mused as he examined the velveted table. The legacies required experience in all their wielders. Unless you have at least 3 origin songs, it would have been impossible to accept. It was a reasonable point. The new songs took more time to connect with, requiring meditation instead of shrines, and slower to learn in exchange for greater power and versatility. That they lacked the same strain made for a tempting offer. It didn't change the main issue either. Over the decades, the Voltaris had adapted quickly, and many took to both kinds of songs when it was discovered that they could be used in tandem. The revelation of having 10 songs instead of the usual 4 led to breathtaking possibilities, even with the difficulties. Unfortunately, it also meant Dominus had the unenviable position of determining exactly who would get a legacy and why. At this point, he would die from suffocating kindness. Irides was living proof of this. What do we know about them? The question brought Dominus back from his thoughts, occupied with Kindred's request. It's all well and good that we have them, but what are they? Who were these souls that a Voltaris master once knew? What songs did they carve that an ancestor would gift them? Compared to balancing politics, Dominus would gladly peer into another master's past, picking at random. Inspecting the starry purple song filled his nose with pine, low growling evident as Nabby finished shifting, shamrock green sparks surrounding the human and the wolf pelt on her shoulders. Hope's Manie was good to her from the looks of it, more than good from what Grunge told him. Course she outstubborned the stubbornest clan. Someone as fierce as her wouldn't go down that easily. Kai Dominus? He snapped out of his daze, tearing his eyes from the song as words spilled. Silk whispers, Nabi Chung, Mendaris, one of the first seers, an honorary Kaltaris. Witnessed the stars to read them, observed the weave inspired by them. Dominus felt his stomach clench and throat dry as he returned to the remaining legacies, unable to face the worried expressions his kin sent as a spike of pain shot into his skull. A seer was no simple matter to give away, But what did that say of the rest? Solus laughed as she danced, phantasms completing the party as her voice belted story after story. She was more than happy to have another guest, even taking to the skies to dance side by side. Shion scowled as he noted another failure, one that didn't survive mutation. Bah! He needed a break from all this work. Lucky for him, Kakoa knew just the spot. He didn't agree, but hey, that's what muscles are for. Barb after barb is shot back as the Voltaris teased his old friend. A comfortable camaraderie formed from struggle, tasty meals, and many good boys and girls to pet. Peony watched like a hawk as the taller man played with her ward. The girl's porcelain skin shone brightly compared to the shadow puppets twirling around her, hands clapping as wings fluttered. Krios getting married wasn't what he expected, but that didn't stop him from taking the invite. Naturally, as the solemn Voltaris master, it was his duty to kick out any would-be wedding crashers. Anything about said crasher getting a broken nose and being a stalker was all lies and slander of the highest order. Dominus lay on his bed, wrung out and unable to move from the headaches. Cassian reached for another flask, the first emptied out by him and his master. So, in short, we have a barkeeper, a bard, a cleric, a prophetess, a Sandaris with a Voltaris partner, and some kind of envoy. Is that right? The resounding groan had him down the mixture like water. Nether and void, what a nightmare. Nike, who had stayed silent with her brother, fixed Dominus with haunted eyes. Kai Dominus, Shion was named as one of the greatest healers the clans have ever seen. Many spoke of his desire to banish illness and injury with all he possessed, even death. Do you mean his legacy? She trailed off, but her intent was clear. I meant what I spoke, he answered in a weary tone. Shion's drive, erudition, and compassion will demand similar of its user, but the Ardoni who masters it can bring back the dead. Aljana lifted itself from his back, splitting in half to rub his face like another hand. There are limits. It will be incredibly exhausting to perform. The deceased cannot be older than a week, and there must be a mostly whole body. In addition, they will be left at the brink, and will require more care. There was a cold uneasiness in his blood. The idea of cheating death was a known factor in Ardonia, as tales of the mythical totems and gold apples could attest. Yet none of them could bring back the long dead. How many times did Dominus wish he could regain his wife, his friends, his family? The day he found out he and his entire camp had died, only to come back thanks to a high conjuration of magic, Dominus had rationalized that was a one-time event, impossible to repeat. Except here he was, faced with evidence to the contrary. Nocturne was always his clan's origin, but he had no small amount of envy at the Radiance. The Radiance? From Hollow Knight? The prime of glory and healing held far more than he originally assumed. Nike, do you believe you or another can call upon Aster? The full name was Aster's Rejuvenation, but personally, Dominus felt the song names were a bit silly. Why couldn't they go for something simpler, like the Ardoni did? What about forging it? Horacio intervened. One Voltaris cannot be everywhere at once. Would it not be easier to make it into an object capable of greater reach? He turned to Kindred. Didn't you say the forges were enchanted in a similar matter? It was an answer Nike was invested in, head turning so quickly Dominus half expected a crack. True, applying songsmithing to an area is possible, so long as you have the resources and time to spend, along with an idea of what you want. You'll need to fit the song in mind, something Shion Nastaris, Shion Akida would like. The man was a healer, so an herb garden or medical cave would suffice, but the dedication to his craft could mean we need to add more. He was devoted to his goal, experimenting with plants and concoctions of every kind. Nicodemus's face twitched at Kindred's frown. Inspiration, purity, progress, all within Shion's legacy and his clan's prime. Whatever is built will require a place to research, but in return it would speed up recovery and learning immensely. I am no songsmith, but every song I've worked with had limits. What limits are you willing to risk on this one? Kindred waved at Aster. The song's golden light interspersed with metallic fractals. I've never worked on a legacy, but I know how temperamental they are, seeking compatible natures to their personalities. Can you guarantee that the cost is worth it? This was getting out of hand. Enough. With effort, Dominus raised himself with Aljana, two grasping claws delicately gripping the bed. Nike, Nicodemus, if Joyce can weave a craft that large, and we have the space for it, then we'll do it. For now, let's focus on the other matter. Both sides made their points, but an ounce of prevention was worth a pound of cure. Far better to have the ability to escape the grave, and not need it, than the reverse. The curative properties of the song applied to a cave combined with Shion's intellect brought to mind Ardoni regrowing limbs. Breakthroughs in medicine and disease render nothing. It made for a persuasive deal. What of her guest? Horacio asked. She explicitly refers to them as a dear friend and respected peer. Right after we planned to talk to her about the theft, and to go on a trip. Privately, Dominus couldn't deny the notion. He loved his aunt, but her generosity made him seriously wonder about her timing. Was this a sign she knew what was happening and sought to give aid, or simply a fortuitous coincidence? There was the option of spying. Yet it set a bitter taste in his mouth. She has spent decades aiding us, and given an irreplaceable gift, not to mention a way around death. More importantly, she is not an enemy we can afford, or an ally we can lose. We will wait before casting doubt. He spoke nothing but truth. Despite how he felt about the letter, a part of Dominus was unsurprised. His aunt made no secret about her speed and inquisitive nature, wondering about this new world she was in. The mention of her friend was troubling, but he was assured by her words. Joyce was many things, but an oathbreaker was not among them. Cassian tucked away his flask. I don't know what to make of her, but why would she need those primes compared to her own? They don't have anything like punting the laws of nature into a corner. The Voltaris master cracked a smile before facing the table, apprehensive at the next legacy to tackle. Placing a hand on the song, he grimaced at the frigid touch. What he had mistaken for the tune of crackling thunder turned out to be ice, a swirling storm of frozen gales confined in glacier blue. It sang of violence, swift and encompassing, the one hearth in the cold shielded by razor winds. Staring at the song, Dominus couldn't help the crawling familiarity of short white hair and eyes matching chipped ice. Eyes eerily evocative of another Sandaris. It would seem their esteemed champion's lineage was anything but pure. I can believe that in a different life, a Voltaris could find love in another clan, but not this one. We need this forged, or those memories will cause more trouble than it's worth. Taking the power of a Sandaris ancient was one thing, but the potential blood of a champion? As deliciously ironic it was, his kin would balk at the idea, a feeling shared by the room. The shard is an honest one, if cruel to a degree. Protective like its origin, and hungering for swift action directed by a clear mind. A weapon should do just fine. Cassian nodded in approval. Maybe armor with how the sentinel acts. Judging from the glances he shared with Kindred, it was a debate later down the road. I know a few Ardoni who'd make it work. They won't like the shard's background, but that's inevitable. Cassian's brows furrowed as his chin landed on steepled fingers. Tanis is the bluntest Voltaris I know, with wit to match. Ulixis is one to hold grudges, but they're straightforward and used to be the main protector of their camp. Gaius, I'm not sure about him. He's pleasant if you're a Voltaris or Irides, but you won't care outside of that. Not sure how he'll take a song like this. Dominus gave a decisive nod, leaving it to Cassian's hands. The dance would remain untouched. Same with the petal and howl. They are too useful in their current state, and there must be a balance between forged and unforged. The latter two were invaluable relics, but the dance was a cultural and spiritual treasure of his clan, with mouth-watering capabilities. There was no good reason for Dominus to have it forged, let alone one his clan would agree with. First off, the Petal's Covenant. A woman who was hunted by zealots for wanting fairness. Dominus could see why this legacy was given. The Voltaris must be of strong morals and spiritually minded, along with a patience for words. Compassion and conviction are a must. Horacio's ears perked. Desponia and Pyrrhus. Both are good mediators and have experience outside the clan, negotiating with merchants and spirits alike. Pyrrhus is only in his hundreds, but he's got a good head on his shoulders. I heard rumors that Desponia is looking for a heart song, but I'm unsure if she has one. See if either of them wants it, then bring them to me. Now, about the howl, Acacius. Dominus's eyes twinkled like candles as his entire circle spoke one name. Why did I even ask? He's the only one daft enough to tame a polar bear and ride it. Nicodemus scrunched in dismay. Ah, Dominus's son had fun telling of a white mountain soaring on top of a flailing songmaster. The image of a disgruntled Nicodemus getting his face licked led to a peal of laughter escaping his lips, the former huffing in response. More to him, Kindred chuckled. He's Cassian's problem now. But on to the last one. Who gets the dance? A storyteller at the least, one willing to learn the musical arts. There isn't a requirement for an instrument, but they will need a lively personality, quick steps, and the essentials of singing. Once more Dominus cursed Iridess as much as he thanked her, racking his brain for suitable names. Singing was a cornerstone in Ardoni culture, but the raids meant the Voltaris had to dampen whatever sounds they made, and inhibited them from channeling their passions. Even with their newfound safety, old habits die hard, Voltaris keeping quiet even on happy occasions as fear snaked down their necks. As a result, there were several who fit the legacy's needs, but few had the vitality or requisite skills for it. Fewer were those Solus would approve of. Erasmus, Tauri, Venus, and Ares. Thoughts? Venus has been coming for her throat, a malady that persisted after treatment. A song like this would go poorly. Nike's verdict was misfortunate, but it still left 3 candidates, one of whom her brother expounded. Ares is an excellent performer with that horn flute of his, but has a short temper and values his privacy. I'm unsure if he'll agree. Erasmus would in a heartbeat, Cassian interjects. But he's been advocating for action against the clans, and would take this as a sign. I can't see that going well. Dominus was hoping time had changed his attitude, but it appeared for naught. Conceivably, Erasmus would be influenced by the dance, pondering the lessons shown from Solus's point of view, but he was uneager to bet on chance. And Tauri? She loves the songs the elders teach her, good memory and empathetic, but never got into a fight outside of sparring. Horatio shifts in his seat. With that said, she just reached her 70s. I don't see her family being happy about this. It was a just assessment. As a fellow father, the Voltaris master had no desire to risk his only child, no matter how valuable the song was. Nonetheless, Dominus knew few alternatives outside of personally empowering violence his clan could hardly afford. I will approach Ares first. Should he say no, we will try Tauri, or find another Voltaris who can handle it. If the stars smiled at them, there was another Ardoni they missed in their survey. Lastly, we have the Whispers. Kendra, what would you suggest? Kekoa's friendships had grounded him in how seers functioned, including how mentally draining their sight was. It was enough for Dominus to decide in a heartbeat that he wanted nothing to do with giving this legacy to a Voltaris in its current state. If any asked, he was more than happy to claim it was to allow greater access to prophecy, while lessening the burden it provided. A diviner's tool or method of self-expression. This was well-trod ground for her. A paint set, notebook, anything granting a way to convey the visions. If you want to call upon her Kaltaris connection, then use silk or animal material to bridge them. It'll work well for accessories like shawls or veils, jewelry too. When she comes back, I will bring your words. Until then, keep this discreet till we have confirmed all wielders. It's possible this is a sign more legacies will appear in Sanctuary, if hidden and out of reach with tests of their own. If so, this will serve as ample warning. Thank you for listening. I would greatly appreciate it if you were to like, comment, and subscribe. Now please enjoy the bloopers. Eating a whisk. There were some legacies greater than the average song. The last gift he ever gave. Every step he took since agreeing to the travel was to the travel. The travel? His senses abandoning him as one by one the lights flooded the room. That was wrong! What the heck? It would be hours before he stumbled out, sweat coating his whole body as Algiana provided a couch? Kekoa. All were initiated by the masters. Ancestors, you dingus! Who were these souls that amassed Voltaris? The question brought Dominus back from his thoughts, occupied with Kindred's request. Dadgummit! Who were these souls that Master Voltaris? Not again! She was more than happy to have another guest, even taking to the scars. Barb after barb is shot back as the Voltaris teased his old friend. A comfortable camaraderie formed from struggle, tasty meals, and many good boys and girls to pet. They are talking about dogs. They are talking about dogs. Both sides made their points, but an ounce that is not a size, that is not a measurement. No, it should be, it sounds funny. A part of Dominus was unsurprised. It's supposed to be unsurprised. Come on, Stereo, get yourself together. Cassian tucked away his Humpty Dumpty, sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. A swirling storm of frozen gales confined? What is that word? It'll work well for accessories like shawls or veils. Jewelry too. Jewelry? That's not a word.